Well, hello, everyone, and welcome inside Baum Walker Stadium. Though you can't really tell because we've got some windows behind us. Mike Irwin joining us. We have the field in front of us. It is game day. We're going to show you the live action as we continue this little preseason special that we've put together for you to get ready for the 2020 season. But before we start that, Mike, what are you most looking forward to?
I really want to see Connor Nolan. Dave Van Horn put all three of these weekend rotation guys in the three tune-up games last week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He put all three of those guys against the projected top batting order. And the word I get is they got hammered, all of them. Now, the issue is, was it the pitching? Was it Arkansas's hitting so good? I don't know. Connor Nolan was only here part-time last year. He wasn't in fall ball. So he shows up in January, becomes a starter. His numbers weren't bad, but he had a losing record, and his ERA was over 4. And some of the issues were he seemed to be almost unhittable in the first 2 or 3 innings, but then when somebody would get on base, there was a distraction issue, and that's a lot of times that happens with young pitchers. And then all of a sudden he'd give up a single, a double, a home run, and he'd be out of the game. So I want to – his pitch count is 75. I'd like to see him go 4 or 5 innings. You know, not give up a lot of runs. I'd like to see him get out of a jam with somebody on base. So that's the number one thing I'm looking at. Connor Nolan, he's had a whole year in the weight room. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's very confident right now, so I want to see how he pitches.
Well, this whole entire team has had a whole offseason in the weight room, a whole offseason to get better, to practice against each other. But I tell you what, when you talk to these guys, they are ready to play somebody else. Let's hear from them on the expectations of the 2020 season.
The only thing a lot of us know on this team is Omaha, honestly. I mean, we know what it takes, and we know how hard it can be in the postseason, where literally every little thing matters, and that's the thing you learn is attention to detail, that you got to take care of all the little things, and then the big picture will start to fall in place.
Every day we get better in practice. It was one day closer every day. We're just ready for it. Everybody's hyped around the locker room. Everybody gets along in the locker room. That's the biggest thing. So I think everybody likes everybody, and we're ready to go to war.
Ready to go to war. Gotta love Curtis Washington Jr. there. And as you can see now, that is a live look at Baum Walker Stadium. The action happening right now. Eastern Illinois taking batting practice and has been since about 12:45. Arkansas finished up right before then and did theirs. And we got to watch a little bit of that batting practice, Mike. And obviously Heston Kjerstad, Casey Martin, very impressive at the plate. But a guy who stepped in there and swung the bat with some confidence, and I love to see it, was a guy, freshman Robert Moore.
Robert Moore is interesting. He hits hard line drives. He'll when he's batting from the left side, because he's a switch hitter, he'll hit it between first and second. He hit several over the top of the shortstop where you couldn't get there. He doesn't hit dribblers. He hits line drives, and he sprays it into the outfield, and he's a pretty effective hitter, but it's his glove that's the difference. Now, this kid was 4 years old when his dad became the GM of the Kansas City Royals. He's grown up around major league players. And Casey Opitz said when we first saw him back in early January, we knew he'd been around baseball. And I took a further in-depth look at this guy, and we're going to show that now. Even though he could still be playing high school baseball this season, Robert Moore is busy getting ready to become the youngest starter ever at Arkansas. There's no question that this young man, who grew up around the Kansas City Royals, has skills beyond his age. But he did have one possible issue that had to be resolved in the preseason.
We had a new young guy coming in, and he doesn't know anybody in the room. Talk to him, let him know who you are, and time will take care of all that, but a lot of times we don't have time.
Moore was immediately accepted by his new teammates, who also appreciated his sense of humor when the inevitable jokes began about his age.
Can you drive yet?
I just got my driver's license last year, so I like to hang out with people my age. So I go to Fayetteville High School, and then as a fan, I come over here to the local Razorbacks practices, and I fit in.
As with any newcomer, Moore had to prove himself to his new teammates. He did that immediately.
He's unbelievable out there with the glove. That's just something God-given. That's just special talent that he's had, and it's fun to be a part of that. You can definitely tell he's been around the game.
Moore can hit, too, batting from both sides, and since he won't turn 21 until after his junior year, it looks like Arkansas will have him for 3 full seasons.
Well, that's exciting news there, Mike.
Here's what I anticipate with him this year. fans at Baum Stadium, especially the concourse people, these are the guys that stand around and talk baseball while the game's going on. You're going to hear this over and over again. Hey, can you imagine what he's going to be like next year?
Yeah.
What about 2 years from now? I just want to watch him this year. It's going to be fun to watch that young kid.
Well, I know how excited people were to have Andrew Benintendi in here, and of course, we only got 2 years with Benintendi at Arkansas. Just the excitement that you get Robert Moore for 3, you know that Arkansas fans are going to love every second of that.
Exactly. I mean, again, his big thing. Dave Van Horn told me he turns the double play faster than anybody's ever seen. He's got lightning quick hands. That's the thing. In one of the preseason scrimmages, the ball was hit to the right of Casey Martin, had to go a little bit back toward third. So he turned. There's a guy on first. He turns and throws a little bit behind the bag at second. So Moore has to reach back and catch that ball with his foot on the bag, but then he just comes around in a sweeping motion and fires it to first. And I couldn't believe he got the guy. And Dave Van Horn came up to Jason Carroll, who was on the concourse shooting that, and said, "You got that, didn't you? Did you shoot that?" He wanted to look at it, so it was impressive.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an exciting season. Let's talk a little bit more about the guys who are going to be around Robert Morris. A lot of veteran guys, and let's make our way kind of around the field, and we're going to start at first base. It looks like it's going to be Cole Austin, who is a transfer in over from Arizona State.
Yeah, he didn't play much there. Last year. He started off at West Virginia, and he hit it 300 there. He didn't have hardly any numbers last year at all. Everybody keeps saying, well, he's short, isn't he? I don't know why people think that. He's 6'2". He's not short. I think he's there more for his skills at first base. But to me, he's the one guy in the lineup that's kind of an unknown as a hitter just because he didn't play hardly any at all last year. But that's another guy I want to keep an eye on early in the season.
Second base is going to be Robert Moore, so we've talked about him. Let's move over now to third base. That's going to be Jacob Nesbitt.
Yeah, Jacob Nesbitt had 4 errors all of last year. Dave Van Horn has said he's maybe the best third baseman in the entire SEC. Really good third baseman. Hit around 230, 245, something like that last year. Not a great hitter, but I've watched him in some of these preseason scrimmages, and then there have been some I just saw on video. Some I was actually at him, but he's hitting the ball better too. So this is another guy that's kind of improved with a year, but he's over there on third for his defensive skills.
Well, Casey Martin is at shortstop, taking up that 6th position, and a guy who, moved over to shortstop after having played third base after his first season. Made some errors over there, but he's really worked on cleaning those up.
Well, that was the thing. He's tremendously athletic. I mean, he can jump, he can move, he's fastest guy on the team, but he got ahead of himself some last year. Made throws that he didn't have to make in terms of velocity, and he could throw it away. So he's been concentrating on kind of slowing down, knowing when you've got to hurry and when you can slow down. And they all expect fewer errors from him, more big plays, and then everybody's going to want to see the relay there between short and second, pulling off double plays. Those two guys working together, Moore and Casey Martin. At the plate, he was a disappointment to some of the fans last year because he hit so well as a freshman. Now, he still hit 15 home runs. That wasn't the issue. His batting average dropped a little bit. And the issue that popped up was as teams got familiar with him, they realized he had trouble hitting a curveball, and he's a sucker for that outside slider. We've all seen him reach out and try to get that outside slider. So they've worked with him a lot on that. And that's another thing to watch in the early part of this season. This Casey Martin, has he learned to hit a curveball? Can he lay off that outside slider? Did he get his batting average back up over 300? He's going to hit home runs. There's about 3 guys on this team, I think, that are going to hit double-digit home runs, and he's one of them.
Well, Casey Martin got a lot of love in this preseason, as did the right fielder, Heston Kjerstad, and Dave Van Horn has talked a lot about how much Heston Kjerstad has improved at the plate, too.
Yeah, he's got more power. He's gotten stronger. I mean, he's always been a home run hitter, but in some of these preseason scrimmages, I mean, he's just hitting poleaxing the ball, and it's just disappearing out there. I need to point out one thing, because the problem with Kjerstad when he started as a freshman in left field and they moved him to right field, we've all seen it. He has a tendency to lose the ball, a high fly ball. And I saw him out here the other day, and he did it again. And I'm going, uh-oh. He's still got to work on that a little bit. But honestly, that's the only possible defensive issue I see on this team because they are solid at catcher all over the infield, left field, center field. That's the only spot. We'll see if he still has a problem in that regard sometimes with these towering fly balls. But even last year, he was a lot better in right field than he was in left.
Well, moving to center real fast, I joked with Christian Franklin, who will take over that spot. Hey, how you feeling? And fill in the shoes of Dominic Fletcher and Andrew Benintendi, the two guys who came before you.
Well, he's fast. He's got good range out there. I don't know if he's going to be Dominic Fletcher, but he's good. And he's hitting the ball well. He's another guy that can hit home runs, hit for average. And I've seen him – I probably saw him hit 4 home runs in preseason scrimmages, so he's on fire at the plate.
All right, a guy in left that you really like, and Braden Webb.
Braden Webb is a JUCO guy who was in here last fall, but he ran into the outfield wall, and he wasn't available for those 2 exhibition games from which Arkansas lost both of them. And people have said to me, well, what's the deal? Why did they lose those games? They didn't lose them because of pitching. Pitching was good. The hitting wasn't there. Well, Webb wasn't available. Goodhart had shoulder surgery. Casey Martin had surgery on his hand. And Austin, who's at first base, I don't think he was out there at that time. So you have 4 guys that really weren't playing back then. So you add them into the lineup, I think it's going to make a big difference. But Webb is a flat-out power hitter. In the first 2 scrimmages, he hit 3 home runs, one of them a grand slam. He also hit a triple and a double in those first 2. He's just knocking the cover off the ball. And he did that in junior college. Hit 360, something like that. Hit 12 or 13 home runs. He's another guy that I think is going to hit double-digit home runs this year.
You mentioned Matt Goodhart. He will be the Arkansas DH that they go to a lot this year. But now let's make our way back behind the plate and what could be arguably the best catcher in the country in Casey Opitz.
Yeah, really good defensive skills, and he's the floor general out there. He's the guy that directs everything. You don't have to do as much relay stuff because Dave Van Horn trusts him to make decisions out there behind the plate. The only issue with Opitz has always been his hitting, and he improved a lot last year. I think he hit 3 home runs too. He surprised people. That's another thing to watch. Does he get his batting average up closer to 300 this year? Will he hit 6 home runs instead of 3? Things like that.
All right, and then making our way to the mound starting tonight, as you mentioned, it will be Connor Nolan taking the mound for the Razorbacks. Here's more on Connor and how he's really tried to develop his game over the offseason.
I'm going to leave anything out there. I'm not going to leave anything in here. I'm going to leave it all on the field, and I'm going to bring it every day.
Sophomore pitcher Connor Nolan has spent the offseason preparing for Friday.
I'm feeling really good. Obviously, I put on a little bit of weight coming into this season. Had a lot of time with Blaine, and he's got me in a good spot physically.
His body transformation is obvious, and one he says he hopes translates on the mound. Mechanically, the focus is becoming a more well-rounded pitcher.
I've just been working a lot. In the bullpen, you work on your stuff. Velocity, obviously, is a big thing for me. So gaining velocity, getting stronger in the weight room, all the things went into it. And then, just working on a changeup. That's been my big goal for this offseason, so that's gone well.
On Friday, Nolan steps on a mound previously occupied by 2 guys who went 26-1 over the past 2 seasons. So we asked him, is he ready to step into the shoes of Isaiah Campbell and Blaine Knight?
Obviously, those 2 guys dominated while they were here, and, that's definitely something that you got to step in those shoes and fill them up. Anybody that pitches in the Friday night spot, they're going to step up, and, you have the stigma of University of Arkansas baseball, and, you got a lot to fill there.
He says he's ready for the pressure. Again, another look at Baum-Walker Stadium as the Razorbacks here in their white uniforms today. Mike getting ready to take the field, and you can see the hog pen right over the left field wall there getting filled up as well. Fans, despite the cold, and granted, it's kind of gotten warmer a little bit as the day has gone on.
A little bit, but the only thing worse than this is in the old days with Norm DeBryan, he was absolutely nuts about he actually embraced cold weather, and I can remember snow being piled up on the warning track, and he'd play one, and he'd want to play a doubleheader. It'd start getting later in the day, and it's getting dark, and it's getting really cold. And he's like, I think we should have played 2. So it's improved from those days, but it's still very cold out there. That's going to keep the crowd down, believe me. Plus the time of day that they're having to play. which was originally 3 o'clock. Now it's moved up to 2.
That's going to be warmer. Norm's from the north. You can't blame him. They play in the snow up there in the north when they can. Obviously, fans real excited about this season. Mike, fans here 4:30 in the morning. It was freezing at 4:30 in the morning. And guys were out there.
I woke up about 8 and I checked Twitter and they'd stuck some stuff up of you on Twitter and I was like, oh no, yeah. I'm glad I didn't get that duty. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I'm glad they didn't call me.
Oh, it's been exhausting, but I'm still rolling. I've got my Mountain Dew over here. I'm going to take a sip of my Mountain Dew.
You're going to get to go home after this. I'm going to be here till about 6 or 7.
I will, but I still would rather sleep in than wake up at 3:30.
Absolutely.
But that's me. I'm going to take a sip of this Mountain Dew and Tara Talmadge is going to catch up with some fans.
Hey, Alyssa, I am here with some Razorback fans. They've been tailgating all day. This is Steve. So, how long have you guys been out here?
I've been out here since 8:30 this morning. Okay. Yeah, it was a little chilly.
Yeah, I bet it was.
And I want to talk to your weatherman.
Oh, really? We'll find Dan later for you.
Tell Dan to turn the heat up.
Yeah. You know what? We would like the same thing, but that's not stopping any of the fans out here coming out to support. I see you've got some stuff working on the grill over here. What do you have?
We've got some pork loin and some brats and some potato soup, and we've got some cheese and stuff on the side.
It looks pretty good to me.
Well, you can stick around and eat.
Well, so earlier when we showed up, I asked you about how you were doing today. Seems like a silly question since it's opening day, isn't it?
It's opening day. No, it's not opening day. It's Christmas morning.
It basically is.
It is Christmas morning.
Well, what do you think of this team? How are they going to do this year?
I think we're going to Omaha again.
You know what? I think so too.
And I don't care because I got free room and board up there.
You been up there before?
My daughter and son-in-law live there.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm up there quite a bit.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited.
I'm glad you came by.
Thank you. Alyssa, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Tara, thanks so much. Hey, Mike, the Razorbacks have taken the field here and going to take a little infield, outfield. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Can we zoom that in a little?
I wish we could.
Like your cell phone, just do that?
I don't have that capability. I'm going to get the engineer to work on that. But this is the best kind of view that we could give you instead of me picking up the camera and manually turning the computer around. So
absolutely.
I thought this was a little bit better than nothing.
Yeah, it's good. We're all excited for it. I mean, I will say this because I always try to balance everything. We're being very positive here, which is fine. But historically, Arkansas teams that are ranked high in the preseason don't live up to those expectations. I always go back to the 77 Razorback team, which came within, I think Earl Campbell on a screen pass kept them from winning the national championship. He didn't score a touchdown, but about 2 plays later they did from the 1-yard line, and that allowed Texas to beat Arkansas. That was their only loss. They beat Oklahoma, tore them up in the Orange Bowl. And I've always told people that was an unbelievable season. But what happened the next year, Sports Illustrated had Arkansas preseason ranked number 1, and they had Lou Holtz and Ron Calcagney and Ben Cowens on the cover. It was at Jinx. And they didn't have a bad season. They won 9 games, but they didn't win the national championship. It's just harder on any team, I don't care where you are, when you've got all these expectations. But this team is different, and I will say this. There have been some exceptions. John McDonald used to do it every year in track. He'd start off number 1, and he'd win the national championship. Nolan did it 2 or 3 times, started off number 1 and then just stayed up there, in the top 3 or 4 virtually the whole season. So it can be done, but there is going to be pressure on these guys, and it's going to come from the fans, and then they'll feel it too, because they want to be that top 6, 7, top 5 team. Right now they're kind of a consensus 7 or 8. I think they're better than that. They may think that too. So do we find after that trip down to Houston, are they in the top 2 or 3, or did they drop? These are all questions that the fans have right now.
Well, right now, preseason pick to win the West. Again, everyone says this team better than last year's team. High expectations. Can they, for the first time in program history, go to 3 straight College World Series trips? That's a long way from now in much warmer weather, but that's the expectation here around this ballpark. We're going to take a look. We're going to shift things and talk about today. Eastern Illinois is the opponent today for Arkansas. Here's Dave Van Horn on the Panthers.
Experienced team, a lot of players back. Will Klein, the right-hander that we'll see Friday, is a very hard thrower. He'll be in the 95 plus most of the time. And they used him as a closer last year. Had a good summer, but a lot of velocity, but we're used to velocity a little bit. Lost some power, lost a lot of their home runs, but got back a good amount of their hitters. Second day starter is going to be a junior college transfer lefty. And then Sunday will be another left-hander that was in the program last year. We faced him, not more of a softer thrower, mid-80s type guy, and got a lot of innings for him. So, just what we know from playing him last year and then doing the best we can to find out everything else with the new guys.
So there's DVH and his very coach talk when it comes to talking about the Panthers. Now, really hard to sit here and really want to dissect the Panther team in Eastern Illinois, because at the end of the day, in these opening series weekends, you just want to take care of business, and it's really more about what Arkansas does than what Eastern Illinois' game plan would be.
Well, it's going to be Arkansas's lineup, that batting order we talk about, without a real weakness in there, going up against Klein, who, as Dave said, is throwing 95 plus. But what I found in college baseball is if that's your deal, fastball, they will eventually hit you. What may happen in this game, and it happens a lot in college baseball, is he's going to blank you for 2 or 3, 4 innings, but as he starts to get a little bit tired, you may get to him a little bit later, and then he's going to be on a pitch count. So Arkansas may get more of its runs, 5th inning, 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th. Then the issue becomes Connor Nolan. Can he sort of match that? And how long does he stay out there? And then who comes out of the bullpen? Because they've got a number of options. But Dave Van Horn said, we're going to be closer by committee until we get a closer, somebody that we know is a closer. So they may be trying a lot of different guys out today. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. I think it's going to be an exciting day. I hope we do kind of get to see a bunch of new arms that we haven't been able to see, obviously, except for outside of scrimmaging. All right, well, we have one more thing to do. Of course, the last member of our team to get it going is our Drew Ammon. Can't forget about our guy, Drew. Having a little bit of fun with Casey Martin earlier in the week.
60 seconds here with Casey Martin. Casey, 60-yard dash. What really is your time?
Well, last time we did that was 10th grade of high school, and that was 6.5. So
pretty strong.
There's no telling what it is now.
And now you're walking around like you're the old guy in this program.
Yeah, I got my cane ready. I get out of bed.
Yeah. Somehow, somewhat.
Yeah.
I think you'd run like a 6.3 now.
I could probably run around there.
Okay. All right, I'm digging. I'm liking that guess right there. Favorite sport other than baseball?
Probably football.
Why is that?
I grew up in an athletic family. We always watched football. We always watched baseball. Not really much of a basketball fan, but forgive me there, guys.
Hitting a home run into the wind, or making a diving stab, or an inside the park home run?
I'm going to go inside the park for sure. Not many people.
You've done that a few times.
Just a few. Hopefully we'll do more this year.
What's so great about that when you know that there's a chance for that?
I mean, that just gets you ahead real quick, honestly, and, it pumps up the guys a little bit in the dugout, and seeing, their own team doing that, and, of course, our team leads the nation inside the Parkers, which is huge. I think it's pretty cool, honestly.
Favorite food?
Probably Crispitos. You ever heard of those? Yeah, Crispitos, man.
That's strong. I got a very puzzled look at my face right now. We're at 120 with Casey Martin, so we're keeping with this theme. Anyway, 60 seconds, sort of, somewhat beyond that. Casey Martin, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm telling you, I had no idea what a Crispito was, and he explained to me it's a thing in Lone Oak. You got to go to this restaurant right in downtown Lone Oak, go in, ask for Crispito. So if you're in there, I need some.
But what is it?
I think it's like a taquito, like a rolled up chicken and cheese.
And it's fried.
Yeah. I need someone to go try these Crispitos and tell me how they are. That is Casey Martin's favorite compliments. He said go and get some. So there we go.
Sounds good.
Something to eat after the game, probably not before the game. All right. It's been really fun, Mike. I appreciate you breaking down this game with me and, of course, the season.
And I'm going to head to the concession stand.
What are you going to get today?
I don't know.
Barbecue nachos.
Okay, that sounds good.
So good. All right. Again, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys watching and, of course, getting ready for game day. 2 o'clock, it is first pitch, and tomorrow is at 2 o'clock, and Sunday is at 1 o'clock. All those games on the SEC Network Plus. For Alyssa Orange and Mike Irwin.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your day, guys.
For watching this Pig Trail Nation report.